Hi, and welcome back to Community Hotline. I'm Monica Weitzel, and we're here in Gresham at MetroEast Community Media. Tonight we're going to talk with a group that I've talked with before, is Family Life Skills of Oregon, but we're going to focus a little more on the Clackamas side of it. And I'm happy to introduce you to Mike Hughes. You are the Executive Director for Family Life Skills.
Yes.
Nice to have you back. And Jackie Sturman, you're the Site Director and Facilitator for the Clackamas location, correct?
Correct, yes.
Nice to have you here. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Now, the Family Life Skills, Clackamas Family Life Skills, you also have the Hood River location, correct? Mm-hmm. The mission is the same, I assume, for both locations. Tell me a little bit about why you were started and what the organization is all about, if you could.
The organization is about helping people deal with the traumas of their lives and change their reactive behavior, their reactive lifestyles from unacceptable behavior to acceptable behavior, to build better relationships and take better care of themselves.
And that can be a tall order sometimes.
Oh, yes, yes. We see some real challenges.
And people, everyone has some sort of trauma or tragedy or drama or something in their life at one time or another, right? So, Jackie, in your experience, are the people that come to you mostly people who have the big traumas and the big dramas, or is it people with like just all sorts of life problems?
It's mostly people who have just lived life and have had rejection issues or some trauma in childhood, or just have issues with anger or
stuff they just haven't gotten over or don't know how to deal with.
Or trying to figure out how to, build relationships and communicate with each other.
And that can be really difficult.
Yes.
It can be very difficult. Now, I know looking on your website and from talking with Mike before that you work with women and you work with men, but you don't work with them together as couples. You're focusing on the individual rather than the relationship. Is that fair to say, or how would you?
Well, it's gender specific because we deal so much with deep stuff, and
Are
women.
You talking like domestic violence issues?
In
that
some
kind of
cases, in some cases, just deep emotional wounds.
Okay.
And women are freer to talk with women,
Yeah, that's
and
true.
men with men, and sometimes it's scary for women if they have issues with their husband.
Right.
They don't
So the peer
want-
support is a part of the program.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay,
Big
so
part.
tell me about that then. You have somebody facilitating workshops, but the group, how many people do you usually have in a group, or does that just vary widely?
We vary between 6 and 12.
Okay,
Ideal
so
class
fairly
size
small,
is
yeah.
10 or 12 people.
Okay.
That way everybody gets a chance
To share.
and to work through their things.
So that's a big component of it then, people
It's a
sharing
big
and
part of it.
Yeah, it's a big part.
Peer support. Tell me a little bit, maybe Jackie, you can tell me a little bit about how the program works. Say I just came out of a relationship, I just can't get over it. I feel like I need some help. Would I be an appropriate person to go through one of your workshops or your program?
Yes.
What's the first step, and how does that process work?
Well, we get signed up and then we begin class. It's a 30-week class.
30 weeks, okay.
So, we start at the beginning and we go through, we pretty much begin with domestic violence issues, and then we work through anger and forgiveness.
Forgiveness, that's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think the most important thing is that the program gives you tools so that you can work even after you're finished with the program on an ongoing basis. You can continue to work on changing your life and getting yourself organized.
So if I understand correctly, a lot of the issues that people have, some of them are from situations as adults, but a lot of times it's from their childhood. Is
Mostly.
that right? Most of them. So if that's the case, then what about people that are going through your program now as adults? Do you think this will help them as parents?
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely.
For sure.
Because once they are able to figure out what the base issues are and are able to face that and go through it and
maybe forgive
deal
in some
with
cases.
it, yes, then they learn how relationships work, and then they're able to work with their families and
Yeah, I was
children.
thinking about your organization today, and that occurred to me because I thought a lot of times the things that happen to us in childhood, we repeat that. We have those cycles, and they're hard to break those. But if you can understand it and like forgive it and come to, understand better tools to cope with it in the future, that might make a huge difference in the way our children are raised.
It's a great parenting class. One of the great things about it is if you heal the individual, then you can heal a relationship.
So you probably can't heal a relationship without taking care of yourself first.
It's a big part of it. And a lot of the wounds and the hurts, if they're from childhood or some other traumatic experience, we have self-defense mechanisms that help us get through life. And it's kind of like putting a callus over it. And pretty soon the individual is reacting to situations and they really don't know why, but it's based in the trauma that they dealt with at some time in the past.
And so your partner is not going to understand why are you reacting this way when their experience may be totally different in their childhood. So if you're reacting inappropriately or what would be appropriate based on your childhood, then I can understand why people have a hard time understanding each other in relationships.
That's correct.
That makes sense. So you and your wife went through this program, is that right? Or because she's still involved, correct?
She's still very involved.
Right.
Yes.
So you run the workshops and how about you? How did you come into this?
Well, the class came into our area about 5 years ago, and I took one of the initial classes, and then
It obviously made an impression on you.
yes, it did. And then Mike asked me to be the site director in our center. And from there, then I took the class again, and for a long time, he and his wife were wanting me to become a facilitator, and I was
You're
like,
holding up, no,
I don't think so.
kicking and screaming into it, huh?
So finally, a couple of years ago, I said, okay, I'll go through the training. So I did go through the training, and now I'm facilitating my second class, and wow, what an experience.
I bet it is. What's the biggest challenge to you as a facilitator? What's the hardest thing to do? I mean, you're talking with people that are probably bearing their souls to you. What's
just hoping that you are leading them in the right direction, or saying the right thing, or
hoping you're making a difference in their life for the better.
Yeah. For me, the hardest thing was just getting up in front of people.
Yeah, that is tough.
But
that can be very tough.
once I figured out that I could do it, then.
And there you are. And Mike, you've been through this enough that you know that it's tried and true, and you know that you're going to make a difference, a positive difference, which I have no doubt that you would be too, Jackie. So tell me a little bit about some of the people that go through. I don't want to know names and that kind of thing, but give me an example of somebody that you both of you, that you feel like you've really helped through the organization.
Well, I can think of, we could be here all night. But,
I don't have that much time, but
we have a couple that was in our first classes, and
now you say a couple.
yeah, they were in a men's
Different
and
separate
women's
classes.
class.
Okay,
yes.
okay.
They went to the pastor of their church, and nobody knew they were in trouble.
Oh.
And they went to the pastor of their church and said, "We just want to let you know we're getting a divorce." Blew his mind.
People don't know usually.
It's
People
that
don't know.
scab, that callus,
Yeah, people,
that
and
face.
nobody you don't want people to know.
And
hide that.
he said, "Well, do me this favor, take this class." And he explained the class to them. And they said, "Okay, well, I guess we'll take it." And he said, "The only catch is the first class isn't starting for about 6 weeks." And this guy came right up out of his chair.
Ooh.
And he said, "I cannot spend one more day in the same house with this woman. And you want to make me wait 6 weeks to take the first class?" And from that, when they graduated, they are pretty much our poster kids for healed relationship.
Really?
Yeah, they're both of them totally turned their lives around. They're best friends.
Wow.
They're becoming very involved with the rest of their family, and they're actually bringing other kids into their home and ministering to them.
Wow.
It's
That's
just
impressive. That's
an
impressive.
absolute success story. That's why we do it. We see,
it's the stories like that
those things.
Well, that's why we keep you sticking around, I'm sure, because you know that you've made a difference in their life. Well, you have to, a lot of times, a church or whatever your belief is, they'll have you go through a class before you can get married. Might as well take one before you get divorced, too. I mean, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? It's one last chance, and they took the right one.
I know of
made the right
pastors
choice.
that won't marry people unless they take life skills first.
Nice. Oh, that's a good deal.
Yeah.
So, Jackie, what about you? Have you been through it enough to really feel like you've made a difference?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I've had several girls in my class that have had issues with their husbands and issues with their kids, and this one gal was living in a home where her husband was being verbally abusive, and her children, I mean, it was a second marriage, and so she had her own child plus his children.
Oh,
and it just became a place where she didn't feel safe, and the kids were all up in arms. They didn't
an awful
know
situation
what was
for
going
children.
on.
Yeah.
So it ended up, from her taking the class, her husband went through class. Then
He was willing to do that.
then
huh?
the oldest son went through class, and I was at his graduation ceremony not too long ago, and I was amazed at what he had to say. He was so grateful for going through that class.
How old do they have to be to go through the classes? How old was that son?
Well,
Was he a young adult?
he was 18, I believe.
Okay,
So
yeah. I've heard about your graduation classes. I hear they're very emotional.
They are.
And just really moving.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and the public is invited to go to those, is that
Absolutely.
right?
You bet.
So to find out more, so if people are interested in finding out more about family life skills, that might be, besides going to the website, which will have that information on the screen, that might be a good way for people to find out more, right?
That's one of the best ways, I think,
Yeah,
is
we
because
encourage
they
people
hear.
to do that.
Because at the graduation, say, give a little bit of their testimony.
Yes.
Okay, and you have more classes coming up soon to start, is that right? So I have written down here that the end of March, there's a men's class registration.
In Clackamas.
In Clackamas, and then April 28th that's when the class starts. So registration the end of March, and then it starts the end of April. And the women's class will not be starting until the fall.
That's correct.
Okay, but people can sign up. Can they sign up on the website for the classes, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it generates a contact sheet, and then we get in touch with them.
Okay. Now your location is in Hood River. Yours is in Clackamas. What areas does that serve? Can people be from, like, we're in Gresham right now. People in Gresham, which one do they go to?
We serve the entire Portland area. In fact, we have women that come from Vancouver, and also as far as south of Salem.
Do you turn anybody away for being outside of the area if they're
No,
willing to make it there?
absolutely
Okay.
No.
Good.
Before we had
encouraging.
Clackamas, we had people travel to Hood River from Seaside
Wow, that's a long.
every week.
Wow, that's a long
Yeah.
ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long ways. So before we run out of time, what else do I need to know about your location there in Clackamas? Is there, or what can you tell me about it that makes it special to you?
I just think it's such a great area for draw, because there's so many people, so many hurting people in that area, and we have in Oregon City we have the women's. Trying to remember the name of it, but it's a safe place for women.
Okay.
So that's a place where women can come to when they're having issues, in their families.
And so, and really,
So it's
if
a county seat.
Right. So if people have issues, even if it wasn't some big thing that happened, even if there's no, domestic violence, or there's no, big trauma that blows up, if you just feel like you need help coping with life,
Yes.
this is a good place to start.
Yes. It's a great parenting class. It's a great development class for management people. It's healthy people make better managers.
Well, that makes sense to me.
Especially if they're coming out of their own trauma, they can see other people and why they're reacting the way they are. It makes them better able to deal with their people.
Ah,
It's
okay.
just, it's more widespread than just domestic violence.
Good. Okay. I can see where it'd be a great program for pretty much any adult. Thank you
It
very
is.
much for being on here. We're out of
Thank you.
time, and I think you're doing a fabulous job. So keep it up, and Don't be afraid of getting up there in front of people, because I can tell you do a wonderful job, Jackie. Thanks so much for watching this segment of Community Hotline. Don't go away. We'll be right back. But if you want more information about family life skills, it'll be on the screen.
My documentary was more than I ever would have dreamed of doing.
This is a community media station.
It was phenomenal.
Ready, camera one.
What is it about this place that makes so many different people come together?
Ready, camera two.
Very professional, experienced people.
You can use these industry standard pieces of equipment.
Ready, camera three. Take three.
To be rich to do this.
Open people's eyes to something they've never even thought of before.
Cool stuff happens. It becomes this community.
That's going to really change who's telling the stories and who's controlling the messaging.